There is no religion in the world which is fully correct or fully wrong. There are good aspects and negative aspects in each one of them. Well, here I am pointing out a few of the incompatibilities in Islam which perhaps their scholars can explain. Well, I have found, or we all believe, that Islam was formed by Prophet Muhammad, to whom Allah Himself or His Archangel Gabriel appeared in a cave near Mecca. Well, first of all, we do not doubt his testimony because he was an honest man, but there is no other evidence other than his own testimony to the apparitions he mentions. So, whatever he has given in the Quran is only based on his testimony. But when we analyze the Quran, we find there are so many anomalies, there are so many things which we cannot accept, which we should point out. In the Quran, it is mentioned, like in the Bible, that Allah and Muhammad found the earth as a large, huge, carpet-like, flat disc, for which, the entire time of creation was spent. In 6 days, He created most of the things on earth, and in a passing motion, whatever that He find in the sky. And then later on, Allah recorded all this in His book of creation and kept it on His throne, which is touching the waters of the earth, borne by His angels. Well, according to this, there are 7 earths and 7 heavens or domes which are actually supported by Allah without falling down. We find these things given in Surah 65:12 and 68:1. These earths, 7 earths, are separated by some ocean, and then the earths are, on the back of, rock-like back of whales, below which there is a rock, below which there is dust, below which we don't know, only Allah knows what is there. And let's say the heavens, 7 heavens, each one of them is supported by Allah without falling on our head. In the nearest heaven, which we find, Allah has decorated with stars. Stars are massive objects. The sun is above 1,000,000 kilometers in diameter, which can contain 1 million earths. So there are stars which are 1,000 times as big as the earth. But then Allah feels they are all very small things decorated in the sky. And then, this is to guide the travelers who go to heaven or hell, we don't know. And the third object is to throw. He plucks each one of them and throws at demons who trespass their boundaries. So we find the shooting stars are simply the throwing of Allah by plucking these stars at them. And regarding the earth, there are 7 of them. The top earth contains a pool where the sun comes and dips. This is at the foot of Allah. So sun cannot rise up unless Allah allows this small thing to rise up again. And then Allah has decided the, let's say, paths of the small objects like sun and moon. All these are totally unscientific. Like, we can say it's childish. So we have, no scientific view on these things. And then on the topmost heaven, there's a sea. Above the sea, there are 8 gods. The distance between a god's hoof and its haunch is 500 kilometers, 500 years of camel's travel. Then Muhammad is supposed to have told his followers that what we hear as thunder is the flash or the whip of angels that drive the clouds. And the lightning is their flash. The thunder is actually the whip sound. These are all, childlike or childish, we should say. And also Muhammad is supposed to have told his followers that the entire universe is as big as the distance covered by a camel in 500 years. In 500 years, a camel travels about 60 to 70 kilometers a day. So in 500 years, how much it can travel? 500 into 365 into 70. But then light travels 3 lakh kilometers in 1 second. So in 1 year, it travels 3 lakh into 16 to 16 to 24 into 365. And when I calculated this, I have found the distance of Muhammad given by Muhammad 500 years camel's travel is not even 1 out of 31,000 distance covered by light in 1 second. Oh no, in 1 year. So the universe is 92,000 million kilometers across. So just see the holy or the divine calculations is absurd. So we find so many such things. As I told earlier, we can quote so many anomalies like that. But every religion has got its own fault. Even Christianity has got its own fault. But what I am thinking is why I did not accept this religion is why a new religion had to be formed. Because Muhammad in his travels knew about Islam and Christianity. And then he amalgamated both these faiths and then he brings up with a new religion, Islam. The Old Testament is fully accepted, or the scriptures of Jews and Christianity were fully accepted by Muhammad with some modifications here and there. All the prophets were accepted except that Jesus Christ was only an ordinary prophet, not God. And most of the commandments of, let's say, given in the Old Testament were comprised or were taken into Quran, and Allah gives it as 75 good manners. And with Muhammad's or the Islam's 5 pillars, that is what make people go to heaven. If anybody follows them, they can go to heaven. There are so many heavens. Actually, there are hundreds of heavens mentioned in the Bible. In these heavens, we find the descriptions of heavens in 65:12 and 68:1. In these heavens, people who follow these commandments and who are holy will go there and enjoy the 72 virgins kept in the best heaven for each male. Of course, his wife can join among one of these 72 virgins. And then there are liquor, honey, flowing in rivers, delicious food. But then those who go against, those who are sinners, are tormented in the hell eternally. I have read in the Hadith that 99% of all humans will be in the hell, suffering. Their souls will be arrested in the eternal hell. We read about the eternal torment in Quran 5:37. How can a merciful God torment or roast human souls eternally in the hell for a small sin they did in this temporal life? God knows, or Allah knows everything beforehand. He has already seen that 99% of all humans will be roasting in hell. But why did He create them? How can this God be merciful? Is there any mercy, any love in Him? This is applicable also to Christian or Jewish God. They all foresee what is going to happen. So we find a great inconsistency with the Islamic as well as the Christian God. And in the Islamic scriptures also we find God sending fire rains, the big flood, then He killing His enemies, or then He destroying whoever who is standing against His prophet. So, Richard Dawkins' description of Yahweh of the Old Testament, that He is jealous, angry, vicious, bloodthirsty, let's say megalomaniac, infanticidal, filicidal. Most of these descriptions can be applied to Allah also. So I do not understand why a new religion is brought in. Because there is not much difference. Both of them give commandments. Both the religions, they have to obey or worship one single God and follow the commandments. The difference is, in Islam, just like in Judaism, adopting from Judaism, there is no idol, there is no statue. Pigs cannot be eaten or they are taboo. There are so many small superficial differences like that. They have to pray 5 times a day, things like that. There is polygamy, males can marry a number of women. Females have to be submissive to the men. And the differences are superficial. But why then a new religion? And with this religion, if this religion's teachings have been so good, why humanity has not so far accepted Islam? Even now there is only 23% of the world population accept Islam. The rest are not. And it is not their fault that they do not accept Islam. They were born in a different religion or they go to another religion being convinced. And before, the Muhammad's coming, there was no, Muslim in the world. With the conquest, bloodshed, conversion by force, that is when new Muslims come up. So we do not find that these teachings accepted by the majority, even the majority of the people. We should ponder why Allah's own religion is rejected by the vast majority. If we look at, let's say, the things done by Allah's religion or Islam, we will find that it has not helped humanity in any way. It has harmed in a number of ways. See, from the time of Muhammad, earlier for 13 or 16 years, he lived a very peaceful life after his revelation. But later on, he had 86 battles where he and his followers, butchers, swords, so many enemies, and then forcibly establishes Islam. His caliphates or his generals later conquer distant lands of Middle East, Northern Africa, Spain, spilling the bloods of perhaps billions in these 12 or 13 centuries. How many children were orphaned? How many women were made destitute? How much of destruction have taken place? How many wars, including the Crusades and so many others? And Europeans, they were colonizers. They colonized a lot of lands and countries. But their intention was not to forcibly bring in a religion. But here we find the entire conquest, which only is unrivaled or which can be compared to Alexander's conquest, bloody conquest. They were done for the sake of Allah. Because, Allah himself has written a number of times that you kill infidels. We read it in Surah 9:5 and 9:29. Killing of infidels. And Muhammad has specifically mentioned to see that you follow those who do not accept Islam. Finish them all. So that is why all the generals we find of Islam makes conquest, bloody conquest, killing, raping, destroying, firing nations until people come to Islam. So this is a great harm done to humanity by this religion. Maybe some other religion like Christianity has done this too. But Islam has created more bloodshed, I think, in history than any other. Then what has Islam done even today in the modern world? When we hear about Muslims, I have heard many people say, whenever we hear about Islam, we hear about or we think about terrorism. We think about civil wars in Syria, in Yemen, in Nigeria, in Sudan, in so many Iraq, so many countries. There is Sunni Shia fight. Each one is at their throat. Iran is against Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, and the Gulf states is against Yemen. There is fight, conquering, wars, bloody wars, going in the name of religions. So we find there is always hostility enacted or brought in by Islam. Islam has compartmentalized humanity into various religions. Already there are a few religions existing which are already compartmentalized humans, and then any religion comes and it compartmentalizes also. So what happens? One religious followers hate another one, and there is conflict. There is a lot of war, religious wars. You find this happening even today. In the name of God, any crime is being done. You see, we find the Islamic State slitting the throat of others, terrorists slitting the throat of others in the name of their God, raping, women, raping Christian women, or so many others. So, it has been an intolerant faith to the view of most of the, let's say, people in the world. It is intolerant. Intolerant in many ways. Even now when we look at it, there is a lot of persecution happening to minority in Islamic countries like Pakistan, like Bangladesh. Minorities like Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, they're all persecuted, beaten, their children raped, they are made to flee. And we also find intolerance within Islam itself. In the Islamic theocracies, nobody can practice any other faith. Nobody can even speak out. There is no fundamental freedom. No fundamental freedom. They all have to be Muslims from birth to death. If anybody goes away from Islam in Islamic theocracy, death awaits him. If in anybody, let's say, there is a blasphemy against the Prophet or the Quran, death punishment. This is intolerant. People should be able to, let's say, criticize others, and if it is not correct, they can be reprimanded. And we see also that women, there's a lot of misogyny, women suppression. Suppression of women not only in the Quran, but from then up till now. They do not have a voice in the running of the state. They are subservient. They can be beaten to submissiveness. Quran has allowed it. They find women inferior. Maybe, there are Islamic scholars who may come up with a different version, but that is the truth. They have to wear hijab, or they have to wear the so dark burqa in the hottest weather. And the male will move forward or go ahead, and the women have to follow. They were rejected. They were denied education and jobs until a few decades back. Even now in Taliban, they are denied that. Without education, without job, they have to be within the four walls. Things are changing now, but very slowly. So women have suffered. So then what good has this religion done to mankind? If 99% are getting roasted in hell, that is cruelty. Cruelty personified. And also I think whenever we hear about today, when we think about Muslims, even though most of the Muslims are good people, it doesn't matter whether they belong to this religion or not, but many people, civilized societies, think of terrorism, think of, let's say, machine gunning, or let's say, suicidal bombers, or trucks running over people. There's all sort of terrorist activities. Islam has come to mean that, because of the activities of a handful of people, the majority are ordinary people living an ordinary life. And it has also harmed humanity in another way. Islam is against birth control measures. Now Islam is increasing, they say, it's increasing because of the fertility rate is very high in the followers of Islam. They are poor, most of them are in the poorer regions. Not because people come from other faiths to Islam. So we find this religion doing a harm. When so many poor are born, they become antisocial. They go into every crime. And we do not find any God coming to their help. There are so many dying with poverty, without medicine, without health care, anything. Now, it is up to you who are listening to me to tell me what good is there, or why should I accept Islam, a person who has, rejected Christianity and Judaism, why should I accept it? If there is a, let's say, good reason, a cogent reason, I will definitely accept you. Thank you very much.